in Ames. Now, here is the schedule of the Big 12 this week. We've told you about Friday, TCU and Oklahoma early on. Then there's Texas Tech and Texas on that night.
That's going to be a fun day of football on Friday. Black Friday, there's going to be a lot of good games.
We got to get to the top 25 games, too. But, yeah, those are two damn good ones right there. Houston, UCF, BYU, Oklahoma State, Baylor at home at night against West Virginia. Could it be Dave Aranda's last game? My conversation with him will come up today at around 4:40, and I asked him about whether he's the one that needs to be back to help turn this thing around. Kansas, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Kansas State in a really good game that could have implications, or no matter what, will be a heck of a game to watch on Saturday night.
Congrats to Baylor for getting off of ESPN Plus this week.
They are, because a lot of games are being played on Friday. Yeah. Now, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you think the networks are picking those games? They're like, so what's left for Saturday night? Oh, dear God, what is Baylor, West Virginia? I mean, the Mountaineers at least have been holding up their end of the bargain. But, yeah, that's not a game I expected to see scheduled for the nighttime. But, hey, yeah, you're right. Good to be off ESPN Plus before the season ended after about a 5-week run on there. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Also, speaking of Texas, remember the lineman from Iowa State was discussing about the history of the rivalry, especially in Ames or whatever. Byron Murphy, who had himself a pretty exciting game too, along with, of course, Tavondre Sweat, popped this out late. 9 yards rushing, that's all. Don't write no check you can't cash, little guy. That came out after the game against Iowa State, UT winning 26-16.
I said last week, hey, it's great if you feel confident. I don't know if I would have stirred the pot like Jared Ufford did, but you know what? Kind of like Chris Williams was saying to us, hey, well, at least he's not hiding it, right? I mean, just being honest and all of that. And, hey, if you're Iowa State, yeah, you do feel a certain type of way about Texas. But, yeah, it just wasn't a smart move. I just don't think it was a very smart move. And I thought that beforehand, but even, especially more so afterwards of, yeah, that wasn't the right thing to probably say at the wrong time. And you know what? If you talk the talk, you got to go walk the walk.
There's video of he and also Sweat talking after the game that looked very cordial.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
And I'm sure he walked up to Andre.
but it's one thing to talk the talk, and it's another to walk the walk. And Texas is walking the walk and talking the talk right now.
Look, psyching yourself up in sports has nothing to do with facts.
Right.
No. You can't. When Napoleon won Waterloo, did he run around and tell them all the facts about it? No.
I don't know. In the new Joaquin Phoenix movie, he probably does because they don't care about history really.
Or Lost Waterloo. Did that happen? No. It's all about whatever you can believe. The most famous recently is Kirby Smart somehow convincing a team full of first-round draft picks that nobody respected them. But there are other things that you can put in your head. And if it's Iowa State, I don't think it was about running the ball. Most of it was they've lost most of the times they've come in here, and that guy's a veteran player. He said, "Look, I haven't seen them win much."
Yeah, he could have probably said it differently than he did. Don Williams had this note: 8 teams in the Big 12. Congratulations, Texas Tech became bowl eligible. 8 teams are bowl eligible. UCF, BYU, and TCU, although against tough competition, although UCF home against Houston should. BYU at Oklahoma State, TCU at Oklahoma, they have a chance, those 3, to become 9, 10, and 11 when it comes to bowl eligibility in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think UCF's got the best shot, clearly. The other 2... we'll see. I think, Oklahoma's obviously not unbeatable. Oklahoma State's not either right now. They are both at home, though. And, BYU's not the same team away from Provo. That's been proven throughout the year. Meanwhile, TCU, I just think that was also, they scored 42 points. They got a big win over their rival in Baylor. I just noticed a recurring trend, though, in that game of where every team who plays Baylor at this point, at some point in the broadcast when it gets boring, it's like, well, if they just did this all the time, this is what this – it's like – it's also the team they're playing. That's also factoring into it. But I do think Josh Hoover had a huge game. They've got some weapons, and Oklahoma's been shaky, so we'll see. There's a chance there.
All right, West Virginia has had a really nice run this year. They hadn't been perfect, hasn't been flawless, but at this time a year ago, Neil Brown was on more than a hot seat. There were thoughts he would not be back. Their rushing attack, 424 yards in their win, no sacks, 2 starters were out. This is from their coach, Matt Moore. I love to watch these Warriors battle. Let's finish strong. And speaking of that, they are now 5th-ranked rushing offense in the country. Most yards rushing per game by a West Virginia offense since 2007. Highest yards per carry, 5.1, by a West Virginia offense since 2016. Fewest sacks, tied by a Power 5 team in conference play with just 3. They're coming to Waco Saturday to play Baylor at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, and the home team has won this matchup every time since the Big 12, since West Virginia joined the Big 12. I think that probably ends this week given all the stats you just said, because Baylor and their run defense is not a thing.
Yeah, and after last Saturday, just take out run, and that's applies as well, because the pass killed them this past Saturday. But that was a really impressive showing from West Virginia, over 400 freaking yards rushing. I mean, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Jaheim White has been great. Donaldson, obviously, is a guy that a lot of people know about as well. But Garrett Green's ability to get around and boogie, obviously, helps too. I mean, over 100 yards for him, over 200 for Jaheim White, and, the mix of other guys along with that. But those two in particular, Green and White, were just sensational on the ground against Cincinnati. It was a bit demoralizing for that Bearcats defense. It's been a struggle for them, and they're another team that you wonder how they go into the offseason. They start to retool and try to get this thing back on track to more of their expectations. But that was a good win for West Virginia. You're looking at 8 wins, 8-4, when you were rolling into a hot seat year, and then possibility of 9 with a bowl game. So, yeah, that's big time for Neil. That's exactly what they needed, and he's been able to deliver that. I know not everybody is still sold on him. There's still plenty of people that think he's still not the guy. But if you're going out there and winning 8 or 9 games, then you know what? That's all you can do, right? And so that's what they have a chance to do.
2017, West Virginia won in Waco. Somebody just put that up on the board. 38-36. That would have been Matt Rule's first year when they went 1-11. Tyler Shuck is going to the transfer portal. Not a surprise. Baron Morton was really good protecting their win. Tyler Shuck, it was a close, early on, UCF up 14-0. Texas Tech eventually just kind of wore them down to win it. Extra point being blocked was obviously a big deal too, but Tyler Shuck hits the transfer portal. If you need a guy that can play, he's one, but is and can he remain healthy? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, Taj Brooks is the story of the year for Texas Tech. I mean, how solid he's been week in and week out, and he was once again on Saturday. That missed extra point was absolutely massive. UCF's sequence before the half was absolutely massive, and I think there's definitely some upset feelings coming out of that game, just sort of the way it was coached in some ways, and just a frustrating year overall for UCF. But they're giving themselves an opportunity to get into a bowl game, and given where they were at one point, that would be okay. But, yeah, that was a really good win for Tech, and to be able to come back after being down early and then fend off UCF, that very much reminds me of Matt Rule's Baylor teams, of just being tough and just staying in the fight and just giving yourself a chance. And so long as you give yourself a chance, you have a chance to win, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't always have to be pretty. It doesn't always have to be, all 3 phases, but just people make plays. So you get the missed extra point, and little things like that add up. And in a game like this, that made all the difference in the world. And now they're looking at a possibility of 8 wins themselves. So big time turnaround for Joey McGuire.
Jeremy Fudge, who's